says we are at stage 11, paragraph page 950.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and our last headword was dull, newer type of
Mm-hmm.
lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start with revision. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go. Are you positive you shut your door properly when you left home today? Are you positive you shut your door properly when you left home today? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
I'm positive
When I'm positive,
I shut my
I
door
shut my
properly
door
when
properly
I left
when
home
I left
today.
my home today.
Very good. If you were planning to see a film with a friend who lived close to the cinema, would you arrange to call for them on the way to the cinema or meet them there? If you were planning to see a film with a friend who lives close to the cinema, would you arrange to call them on the way to the cinema or meet them there? If
Mhm.
I were
If
planning
I were
to
planning
see a film
to see
with
a
a
film
friend
with a
who
friend
lived close
who
to the
lives
cinema,
close to the
I'd
cinema,
arrange to
I'd arrange to
there.
meet them there.
Very good. In your view, are tougher laws called for in your country to deal with violence in society? In your view, are tougher laws called for in your country to deal with violence in society? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
In my view,
In my view,
tougher laws are
roles
called for
called for
in my country
in my
to
country
deal with
to deal
violence
with
in
violence
society.
in society.
Very good. Would a gift of £1,000 make a significant difference to your lifestyle? Would a gift of £1,000 make a significant difference to your lifestyle? Yes or no?
Yes,
A gift
a
of
gift of
£1,000
1,000
would
pounds
make a
would make
significant
a
difference
significant difference
to my
to
lifestyle.
my lifestyle.
Very good. Okay. At what time of the day do you feel most at peace with the world? At what time of the day do you feel most at peace with the world? I feel
I
most
feel
at peace
most at
with the
peace
world
with the
at.
world at late in the evening.
Very good. Did you encounter any problems on your way here today? Did you encounter any problems on your way here today? Yes or no?
No,
I didn't
I
encounter
didn't
any
encounter
problems
any
on
problems
my way here
on my way
today.
here today.
Very good. Give me an example of the words after all used to express that something eventually happened, even though we thought it was not going to happen. Give me an example of the words after all used to express that something eventually happened, even though we thought it was not going to happen. I was convinced
I was
he
convinced
would arrive.
you would
Uh,
arrived
he wouldn't arrive
wouldn't arrived
in time for the wedding
in time for wedding
ceremony, but
the
she made it
ceremony, but she
after
made
all.
it after all.
Very good. When an event you've been looking forward to is called off, how do you feel? When an event you've been looking forward to is called off, how do you feel? When an event
When the
I've
event
been looking
I'd
forward
been
to
looking
is
forward
called
to
off,
is called off,
I feel
I feel disappointed.
very good. How many bedrooms does a medium-sized house in your town have? How many bedrooms does a medium-sized house in your town have? A medium-sized
A
house
medium-sized house
in my town
in my
has
town has 3 bedrooms.
very good. Okay. What should the outside lane on a motorway be used for? What should the outside lane on a motorway be used for? The outside lane
The outside
on a
lane
motorway
on the
should be
motorway
used
to
for
be used
overtaking.
for the
Overtaking.
overtaking.
Very good. What do people mean during a conversation when they say sorry, I must dash? What do people mean during a conversation when they say sorry, I must dash? When people say
When people
sorry,
say,
I must
sorry,
dash
I must dash
during a conversation,
during a
they
conversation,
mean they
they
have to
mean
leave
they
in
have
a
to leave
hurry
in a
and
hurry
so cut
and
short
so
the
cut short the
conversation.
conversation.
Very good. Give me a sentence with the word since used with the meaning of because. Give me a sentence with the word since used with the meaning of because, please. We'll have to do
We
the
have to
job
do the job
ourselves
ourselves
since it seems
since it
impossible
seems
to
impossible
find anyone
to
else
find anyone
to do
else
it for
to
us.
do it for us.
Very good. Okay, next. Did you play with dolls when you were a child? Did you play with dolls when you were a child? Yes or no?
Oh, yes,
I played
I
with
played
dolls
with a doll
when I was a child.
when I was a child.
What do we use gloves for? What do we use gloves for? We use gloves
We use gloves
to protect our
to protect
hands
our head
from cold,
from cold,
especially in winter.
especially in winter.
Can we see a spark on a match if we strike it against its box? Can we see a spark on a match if we strike it against its box? Yes, we can
Yes,
see a
we
spark
can see a
on a
spark
match
on a
if
match
we strike it
if you strike it
against its box.
against its box.
Regid, can you name me some of the famous pirates? Can you name me some of the famous pirates, please? Yes, I can
Yes,
name you
I can name
some
you
of the famous
some of the
pirates.
famous pirates.
Captain Hook
Captain Hook
and Captain Jack
and Captain
Sparrow.
Jack Jack Sparrow.
Very good. Do you like peach? Do you like peach? Yes or no?
Oh yes,
I
I
like
like peach.
peach. Do the knuckles of one's hand usually felt sore after a boxing match? Do the knuckles of one's hands usually felt sore after a boxing match? Yes. The
Yes,
knuckles
the
of one's
knuckles of
hands
one's hand
usually felt sore
usually felt sore
after a boxing match.
after a boxing match.
Gregor, what do we use a calendar for? What do we use a calendar for? We use a
We use
calendar
a
to see
calendar
the
to
days,
see the days,
weeks, and
weeks,
months
and
of the
months
year
of the
to
year
check our
that
schedules,
checks our schedules,
events, or
events,
activities
or
that
activities
we plan to
that
do.
we plan to do.
Regid, what do we use a fountain for? What do we use a fountain for? We use a
We
fountain
use a
to
fountain
send a
to
stream
send a
of
stream
water
of
into the
water
air
into the
in a
air.
garden, park,
In garden,
park, etc.
park, etc.
Regid, can you see any cables in your house? Can you see any cables in your house? Yes or no?
Oh yes,
I can
I can
see some
see
cables
some
in my
cables in my
house.
house.
Do you like to see a man with mustache? Do you like to see a man with mustache? Yes or no?
No,
I don't like to
I don't
see a
like
man
to see a
with
man
mustache.
with mustache.
Have you ridden on a tram? Have you ridden on a tram? Yes or no? A tram, like a small
No,
train in the
no,
middle of the road. Again, I haven't ridden
I haven't ridden
on a tram.
on a tram.
Reggie, do you like to see people with fringe? Do you like to see people with fringe? Yes or no?
Yes,
I like to
yeah.
see
I like
people
to see people
with fringe.
with fringe.
Yeah, a lot of people in Japan have fringe.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Where do we usually find chapters? Where do we usually find chapters? We usually
We
find
usually
chapters
find chapters
in a book.
in a book.
Reggie, where do we usually see tractors? Where do we usually see tractors? We usually
We
see
usually see
tractors on a
tractors
farm.
on a farm.
Do you prefer to explain something using a diagram? Do you prefer to explain something using a diagram? Yes or no?
Oh no,
I don't
I
prefer
don't
to
prefer
explain
to
something
explain something
using a diagram.
using a diagram.
Very good. Okay, that's the end of our revision. Let's have
Mhm.
teamwork. Okay, repeat. May well,
May well,
might well,
might well,
could well.
could well.
Very good. Okay, listen. When we put the word well immediately after the modals may, might, or could, it
Mhm,
changes their meaning from perhaps to probably.
mhm.
Okay, let's practice. What happens when we put the word well immediately after the modals may, might, or could? What might happen if we put the word well immediately after the modals may, might, or could? When we put
When we
the word
could
well
the word well
immediately after the
immediately
modals
after the
may,
modals
might,
may,
or could,
might, or
it
could.
changes
It
their meaning
changes their
from
meaning
perhaps to
from perhaps
probably.
to
To
perhaps or
probably.
to probably.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. He loves Spain so
He loves
much
staying so
that
much
I honestly
that
think
I honestly
he
think
may well
he
end up
may well
settling
and
there.
end up
Settling there.
settling
Okay.
there.
Very good. Next, repeat quit.
Quit.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word quit is a verb. It means to stop doing something. The
Mhm,
three forms of quit are quit, quit, quit. For
mhm,
example, she'd love to be a non-smoker, but she's never quit successfully.
mhm,
To quit also means to leave a job. For example, she quit her job yesterday because the salary is not good.
mm.
Let's practice. What are the three forms of quit? What are the three forms of quit? The three forms
The three
of quit
forms of quit
are quit,
are
quit,
quit,
quit.
quit, quit.
Very good. Okay. Next. Make a sentence with the verb quit. Make a sentence with the verb quit, please. I finally
I finally
quit my job
quit my
yesterday.
job yesterday.
She'd love to be
It loved to
a
be
non-smoker, but
non-smoker,
she'd never quit
but she never quit
successfully.
successfully.
Very good. Next, repeat. Sympathize.
Sympathize,
Bankrupt.
bankrupt.
Very good. Okay, listen. Sympathize is a verb.
Mm-hmm.
It means to feel sorry for someone who is in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
Bankrupt is an adjective. It means unable to pay debts. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I sympathize with people who start their own company but then go bankrupt because they put
Mm-hmm.
a lot of effort and money they put
Mm-hmm.
to it. Let's practice. Do you sympathize with people who start their own company but then go bankrupt? Do you sympathize with people who start their own company but then go bankrupt? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
I
I
sympathize with
sympathize
people
with
who
people
start their
who
own
start
company
their own
but
company
then go
but
bankrupt.
then go bankrupt
Why? Why? Because
because it's heartbreaking.
heartbreaking. Very good.
Mm.
Next, repeat suicide.
Suicide,
Commit suicide.
commit suicide.
Very good. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
suicide is a noun. It means
Mm-hmm.
killing oneself intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
To commit suicide means to kill oneself. For example,
Mm-hmm.
she had lots of problems. That's why she committed suicide. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Let's practice. Is it illegal in your country to help someone to commit suicide? Is it illegal in your country to help someone to commit suicide? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
It's illegal in
It's
my
illegal
country
in my
to
country
help someone
to help
to
someone
commit
to
suicide.
commit suicide.
Very good. Next, by no means.
By no means.
Not by any means.
Not by any means.
Very good. Okay, listen. By no means and not by
Mm.
any means
Mm-hmm.
both mean not in any way. So they're the same. No, by no
Same
means,
same means.
not
Mm-hmm.
by any means, not in any
Mm-hmm.
way. For example, he is by no means the worst in the class. He isn't by any means the worst in the class.
Mm-hmm.
Let's practice. Give me a sentence containing the words by no means or not by any means. Give me sentences containing the words by no means or not by any means. She is by
She
no
is
means
by no
the
means
worst in the
the
class.
worst in the class.
He isn't by
He
any
isn't by
means
any
the
means
worst in the
the
class.
worst in the class.
Very good. Next, hand out.
Found out.
Hand out.
Hand out.
Give out.
Give out.
Leaflet.
Leaflet.
Passerby.
Passerby.
Very good. Okay, listen. Passerby is a noun. It
Mm-hmm.
means a person who is walking past something or a particular place. For
Mm-hmm.
example, while sitting at the coffee shop to have coffee, I can see
Mm-hmm.
many passers-by walking past.
Mm-hmm.
Leaflet is a noun. It is a printed and often folded sheet
Mm-hmm.
of paper that is usually given to people for no cost. For
Mm-hmm.
example, company leaflets were given to the passers-by.
Mm-hmm.
Handout, two words. Handout is a phrasal verb. It means to give something to each person in a group or place. For example, it's common to see people handing out leaflets to passers-by in the streets in my town.
Mm-hmm.
One word, handout, is a noun.
Mm-hmm.
When we say a handout in a business meeting, we mean a document that is given to all the people attending the meeting. Handouts.
Mm-hmm.
Give out is a verb. It means to give something to several or many people. For example, it's common to see people giving out leaflets to passers-by in the streets in my town.
Mm-hmm.
Let's practice. Is it common to see people handing out leaflets to passers-by in the street of your town? Is it common to see people handing out leaflets to passers-by in the street in your town? Yes or no?
Oh, yes.
It's common to
It's
see
common
people
to see
handing
people
out
handing
leaflets
out these
to
leaflets to
passers-by
passers-by
in the street
in
in
the
my
street
town.
in my town.
Ragged, what do we mean by a handout in a business meeting? What do we mean by a handout in a business meeting? By a handout,
By a
in a
handout
business
in a
meeting,
business
we
meeting,
mean a
we
document
mean a
that is
document
given
that
to
is
all the
given
people
to all the people
attending the meeting.
attending the meeting.
Very good. Next, repeat acquire.
Acquire,
Automatic.
automatic.
Very good. Okay, listen. Acquire is a verb. It means to gain a new skill, a new ability, etc. Usually
Mhm,
by your own effort. For example, he is studying the way the language is acquired by children. Automatic is an adjective. It means
mhm,
happening or done without careful planning, careful
mhm,
thought, or effort. For example, by learning the language of a country, I think one automatically acquires some knowledge of that country.
mhm,
Let's practice. By learning the language of a country, do you think one automatically acquires some knowledge of that country's culture? By
mhm.
learning the language of a country, do you think one automatically acquires some knowledge of that country's culture? Yes or no?
No,
By learning the
by
language
learning a
of a
language
country,
of a
I
country,
don't think
I don't
one
think one
automatically acquires
automatically acquires
some knowledge
some
of
knowledge
that country's
of that
culture.
country's culture.
Very good. Next, repeat labor.
Labor.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word labor is a noun. It means work. For example, people in jobs that require hard physical labor often need to retire earlier than those in office jobs.
Mhm.
Okay, let's practice. Do people in jobs that require hard physical labor often need to retire earlier than those in office jobs? Do people in jobs that require hard physical labor often need to retire earlier than those in office jobs? Yes. People
Yes,
in jobs
people in
that
jobs
require
that
hard
required
physical
our
labor
physical labor
often need to
often need
retire
to
earlier
retire earlier
than those in
than
office
those
jobs.
in the office job.
Very good. Next, repeat the sentence.
Sentence.
Very good. So this is a different sentence. The sentence as a verb
Mm, mm,
means to officially
verb.
state the punishment.
Verb. Oh, okay.
Sentence like a
Oh,
verb. So
mm,
officially state the punishment given to someone by a court of
mm,
law. For example, the judge sentenced him to prison. He was sentenced 10
mm,
years to prison.
mm, mm,
Okay, let's practice. If somebody is sentenced to a certain period of time in prison, do you agree they should be released early for good behavior? If somebody is sentenced to a certain period of time in prison, do you agree they should be released early for good behavior? Yes or no?
Ari behave. No.
If
I
somebody
is
is
somebody
sentenced
is
to a
sentenced
certain
to a
period of
certain
time
period of
in
time
prison,
in percent.
I don't
I
agree.
don't
They
agree.
should be
They
released
should be
early
released early
for good behavior.
or good behavior.
Very good. Next, repeat. Catch up.
Catch up.
Tricky.
Tricky.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word catch up is a phrasal verb. It
Mm-hmm.
means to reach the same quality or standard of someone or something else. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I was absent during the last lesson, so I have to catch up on my studies by studying over the whole weekend. Tricky is an adjective. It means difficult
Mm-hmm.
to do or deal with. For example, supposing I missed 2 weeks of lesson, it would be tricky to catch up with the rest of the students in the class.
Mm-hmm.
Let's practice. Supposing you miss 2 weeks of lesson, would it be tricky to catch up with the rest of the students in the class? Supposing you miss 2 weeks of lesson, would it be tricky to catch up with the rest of the students in the class? Yes or no?
No, yes.
Supposing I miss
Supposing I miss
2 weeks of
two
lesson,
weeks of lesson,
it would be tricky
it is be
to
tricky
catch up
to catch
with the
up
rest
with
of the
the rest
student
of the
in the
student
class.
in the class.
Very good. Next, repeat nasty.
Nasty.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word nasty is an adjective. It is the
Mm-hmm.
opposite of pleasant. For
Mm-hmm.
example, there's a nasty smell coming from the hotel kitchen because it hasn't been cleaned for a month yet. Hmm,
Mm-hmm.
let's practice. What's the opposite of nice? What's the opposite of nice? The opposite of
The opposite
nice
of
is
nice
nasty.
is nasty.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. There was a
There
nasty
was
smell
a nasty smell
coming from the
coming
hotel
from
kitchen.
hotel kitchen.
Very good. Next, repeat endure.
Endure.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word endure is a verb. It means to go on, deal with, or accept. For
Mhm.
example, children find long car journeys hard to endure because they find it difficult to sit still for a long time.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's practice. Why do children find long car journeys hard to endure? Why do children find long car journeys hard to endure?
Mhm.
Children find
Children
long car
find long
journeys
car journeys
hard to endure
hard to endure
because they find it
because they
difficult
find it
to sit
difficult
still
to sit
for a
still
long time.
for a long time.
Very good. Now let's move on to reading.
Okay.
Okay, our reading is at stage 8, paragraph page 661. Last headword was
61
challenge. Okay, please start reading at page
challenge
662. First question.
62.
Can the verb there be used?
Oh, can the verb there be used